Alright, aha, plug to media, mwanka Samsung for NHSMD latest updates ebedum. Yamora and Semni Mudia NHS the ensem able free parliament aba Nina fa illegal mining NHS ekoso ewo omomugana ha. Eno NHS minority leaders edi insembi abetuja NHS ebeya enka His Excellency enyi eyenkofo mienu bi edi esan se omu enhwe Emma ye suosem enkoye because of illegal mining enkane na ye water bodies enenam 75%. Right now na ye water bodies enam 40%. That means illegal mining say omamu Ghana ye nsuo kra skatani omakra nti ebeya Nana Addo enye bibi found yanko tie ensama ewo hobi emma.
AM News details now. The minority on the Works and Housing Committee in Parliament is calling for the removal of the Lands Minister and his deputies over their failure to protect the country's water bodies and rivers from illegal mining. Currently, Ghana Water Company's production level has dropped from 70 to 40% nationwide due to illegal mining activities. But ranking member on the Works and Housing Committee, Vincent Oponga-Samoa, says the country will begin to witness the desired results when the sector ministers are sacked by the president.
It falls directly under his ministry. This Galamsey issues, the mining issue falls under him. And you know, there's a deputy who is in charge of those areas, Mikuduka. In his own hometown, where his constituency is, it's not spared. And it looks as if there's a huge institution at the Jubilee House that supervises this illegal act.
Some will argue that firing the land minister is not the way to go.
It needs to be a bit hard. Firing the worst thing that anyone can suffer is a minister losing his job as a minister because of the fact that he couldn't perform. And this is a very, very sensitive issue. So if you have ministers like two deputy ministers in charge of lands and forestry, and they cannot protect our mineral bodies, the best punishment you can give to them is to sack them. And whoever comes to you, give him what the presidency intends to see, so far as that area is concerned. But within the 3 months, I can bet you nothing is going to happen because we are getting into elections.
Before we can bring it right now, the ranking member on the Water Sanitation Committee in Parliament, Hassan Suhuyini, joins us right now on the line right now. Thank you very much, Hassan Suhuyini, for your time here on Newsnight. We'll get to hear his thoughts on this. But as you know, this started off in the central region, where up to 60% of the water that they treat is currently silted. And that has become a big issue for the Ghana Water Company there. He is a ranking member on the Lands and Natural Resources Committee in Parliament. Mr. Suhuyini, thanks for your time here on Newsnight.
Thank you, Vance. Good evening to you and to our listeners.
We've heard from the Ghana Water CEO, who is making a case for the redeployment of the military into the forest once more for crackdown. We've seen this happen in the past, but he believes that's the way to go. Where do you stand on this particular matter at the committee level, considering the devastation we are now seeing now is having a real impact on our ability to treat water for all of us?
Well, I don't think that bringing the military is going to be a novel idea. It is something that we have tried in the past, and it has not worked. I agree with my colleague, ranking member on environment and water, that perhaps since we are saddled with a failed Nana Bawumia government until after 90 days, what we can plead with the government to do is to dismiss some of the ministers who are responsible for these sectors. The ultimate would have been to dismiss the entire government that has showed, very, very abysmal performance by way of protecting these water bodies and dealing with the Galamsey menace. But since we are saddled with them, I think that what we should plead with Nana Akufo-Addo and Dr. Bawumia to do is to at least fire the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, fire the Minister for Environment, because these are the ministers who are supposed to oversee these sectors. Unfortunately, you have a situation where one of them has promoted LI 2462, which allows for mining in our forest reserves. And you have the other looking on, while this illegal mining menace is getting out of hand, where in some cases, like one of your reporters indicated, the impunity is just that repulsive. They do it now even by highways, like we saw in Konongo, and they do it in the forest, especially because the LI 2462 has been passed. So I'm saying that we may not be able to do much, but sending military to these water bodies will not be the ultimate, because we have done that in the past and we have had very little results to show.
What will be the ultimate then?
So, like I'm saying, the ultimate would have been to just fire this, government that has shown very, very little commitment as far as protecting these water bodies are concerned, and as far as fighting and winning the war against Galamsey is concerned, because at the heart of this problem is the impunity with which people are mining in our forest reserves and very close to these water bodies.
I mean, admittedly, though, as far as political interference and political commitment to this is concerned, we've seen part of this problem under the NDC administration. Admittedly, it's gotten worse. Just look at the evidence.
Absolutely.
Let's look at the evidence when it comes to water turbidity. That alone is evidence that it's gotten worse under this government. I guess the point is that both parties do not have great records in dealing with this decisively to the point where we eliminate it.
Well, but there is a reason why it has gotten worse. There is a reason, and the reason is the abysmal failure of this administration, and especially because many of them are involved in this illegal, mining business. And you can name them. You just, can roll your eyes and the names will fall off your lips. Many of them are engaged in this business. And even when they declared the war against the menace and enjoyed a lot of goodwill from the people of Ghana, we were all shocked when, further revelations showed that they did not actually have the commitment to deal with the menace, but they were simply creating an atmosphere to further the businesses and the illegal activities of some of its members.
I mean, Parliament resumes shortly, and we're not talking about solutions. Parliament resumes shortly. What is it that your committee is going to do to try and get some action that will create some outcomes that may lead to water turbidity reducing?
Yes, in talking about solution, there's the need for us to identify responsibilities and assign them to those who are expected to, carry out those responsibilities, and also to be bold enough to point out to people who fail in their responsibilities. So, as Parliament, clearly, we have been raising these issues and also lending our support to government in every way possible, whether by way of policies and programs that they bring up, whether budgets that they need voted for the fight. We have always, given our support to help government to fight against this menace. Unfortunately, if government is unable to do it, I'm saying that what we expect the government to do for now, because we are saddled with this failure, is at least to make some moves that will give an indication that it is willing to do something about the menace. And one of the things they can do is to fire the ministers responsible for these sectors.
Well, it's still within Parliament's jurisdiction to have a vote of censure. If the government decides not to fire the minister, you can do that. Is the minority prepared to start the process for this to happen?
You know the nature of our Parliament. Yes, it is something that we will be willing to do. We have tried it before, and you know how it ended. Because in the end, people will be whipped in line, and it will become partisan. Remember the vote of censure on the finance minister and how it ended. So I am surprised that we will still be interested in exploring, opportunities, or if you like, ventures that will not give us the necessary result. I'm saying that the president has the ability as we speak to make changes at the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, and also to make changes at the Environment Ministry. And I am hopeful that when they make those changes, perhaps the new ministers, if they are minded to leave anything to their credit, will take some, drastic measures.
Those changes, those changes, won't happen. That's why the people people elected you members of parliament and give you the power to do it if the executive president fails to do it.
That is why I am not checking that responsibility, but I'm saying that there's a need for us to identify their, respective arms of government and the responsibilities each have. And I need to make the point, and I don't know how strongly I can make that point, that one of the roles that Parliament plays is to provide key oversight. And you can check the parliamentary Hansard, you can check the record, the number of times we have discharged this responsibility of ours. But if we have the situation as bad as it has become, like you have admitted, worse than before, it is important that the executive that has the authority of the people of Ghana also is held responsible some way, somehow.
And that day is Hassan Suhini, is a ranking member on the Land and Natural Resources Committee in Parliament.
Meanwhile, the Ghana Water Company, also in the Ashanti region, is warning residents in